Phrasebooks. So I want to start here with the ACTFL proficiency levels. So ACTFL is the American Council for the Teaching of Foreign Languages. They published very detailed descriptions of different proficiency levels in languages, what people can do. Proficiency levels don't worry about where you learned your language, where you got your language skills, how many books you did, how many classes you did. It's all focused on what people can do. And the novice level learner is at the word level. Their next goal, the next stage, is sort of that upper novice level. If you see, that pyramid gets a bit wider and they start making their own phrases till you move into the intermediate level, which is sentence level language. So phrase books are absolutely ideal for this. Absolutely ideal. What phrase books do is they get people communicating right away. In a lot of traditional programs, people are presented with lists of vocabulary and grammar, and all of that stuff's really useful. It's fantastic. And you're going to have to study it at some point. I do a lot of old school activities as a learner and as a teacher because they work. However, the novice level learner needs to get communicating. They don't need to understand rules. They just need words and phrases to communicate. And a phrase book is going to do that. I honestly believe that the focus on all of these rules is what keeps people from becoming fluent because they get discouraged. They sort of are expected to put all this stuff together and create with language, which is what happens, but you're looking up towards right in the middle, sort of in that intermediate level is when that really starts happening. You got to have a lot of words and phrases first. So there's no reason you can't be communicating and cutting out all the stuff that you don't need to communicate to begin with. You can do all that language and grammar study later. So one of the things that we did in this course was it was all based on a phrase book. So the phrase book being Language for Travel and Beginners, regardless of whether all of those words and phrases that were presented would be relevant to you at any given time, or, there could be more that you need to know, there could be less, there could be some that aren't relevant to you. That's not really the point. The point is that it's all communicative and in context. Here's an example of a Korean phrase book. And the context here is just getting around. And as you can see, the English is linked to Korean, right? Korean native speaking audio. In the middle, you've got Korean. And then on the right, you've got Korean and English, right? This isn't meant to get you writing novels. This is meant to get you communicating. The more you communicate, the more you practice, the more you know, the more quickly you're going to become fluent. It's really quite simple. This next example is from Eyewitness Guides, available online. This is Spanish. The context here is socializing and likes and dislikes. This is cheap and easy. You can download it. You can have this in a matter of minutes. I believe it's available on Amazon too, but they definitely have their own site, Eyewitness Guides. You see they've got the little audio icon. You can hear a native speaker. You can see a bunch of phrases that are relevant to this socializing and these likes and dislikes tasks listed. You see the Spanish equivalent. You see the phonetic spelling so you can pronounce it, written for English speakers. Really, really useful. They do tons of them. This one's Italian. This was very useful for me. Rough Guides is another excellent one. I believe their French travel guide has 5,000 words and phrases. Berlitz, solid. Lonely Planet, also excellent. These are all really reasonable, cost-effective, great ways to expand your language skills while you're in the novice level. Another example that I have here that's completely free are released by the United States government. They're in the public domain, so you don't have to pay anything for them. This particular example is Japanese, but they're available in several languages. Japanese phrase book from 1944. A terrible time in Japanese history. but it cuts down to the basics. This is all for people who are in Japan to get communicating. There's greetings, there's questions, there's English, there's Japanese, and then you'll see the same set of words and phrases in English and then Japanese and English, so it's much easier. You can start learning written Japanese, those sort of side-by-side guides with the English included. There's some sad stuff in there. It's during wartime, terrible time in their history, but part of learning a language is about learning the culture of the people, understanding where they came from and why they might think the way that they do. It's really important. We have to learn about what people make, what they do, how they see the world. That's a hugely critical part of learning a language. Again, free and in the public domain. But beyond that, language learning today is getting easier and easier and better because there's more tools for us to connect with native language and culture. When I first started teaching languages, I was dragging in shoe boxes and photo albums with slides and photos and DVDs and books and magazines to share with my students. And all this stuff's available online now. It's amazing. And in fact, that's how my whole blogging project started, was digitizing a lot of this stuff because it was taking up so much physical room. You can listen to audiobooks. You can see YouTube videos. You can listen to podcasts. There's grammar lessons, tutorials all over the place. There's ways to speak with native speakers. There are tools and apps to find words. Here, you can download a lot of it to your phone as well. We've never lived in a time like this. But I want to share one tool with you in particular, which you probably already know about, and that's Google Translate. So Google Translate is like any other sort of translation tool or dictionary. It deals with input and output. You put something in and you get something out. And that's essential because there's going to be times that you're going to have to put words and phrases in because you don't understand them in the target language, or you need to know their equivalent of your language in the target language. So I know I'm pointing out the obvious there, but that's essential. You've got to find a way, you've got to have a way to access words and phrases you don't know. But there's a lot of pitfalls there. Again, it deals with input and output. This is not as smart as a human being. A dictionary is not as smart as a human being. Google Translate is not as smart as a human being. So there are lots of mistakes that can be generated through using a program like this. And I just want to talk about a few before we talk about what's good about it and how to use it. So I want to show you this example of Italian, English to Italian, the word Monday. So this seems pretty obvious enough, and the translation is actually fairly accurate, but there's one error. And that's that Monday in Italian is capitalized, which it's not. But if you're at this stage, you might not know that. Now, I'm not going to say that that's a deal breaker in communication, but you need to be aware. This next set, the word May. Okay. Well, what's the context? So really, I was looking for May as in the month. But what it gave me is May as in may I, can I. Completely incorrect context. If I didn't know enough Italian, I could make some pretty big mistakes there. Here's an example in Spanish. So if you speak Spanish, you know that to pull one's leg, or I'm sorry, if you speak English, you know that to pull one's leg is to try to trick somebody. But the translation that we're given here is literally to pull someone's leg. So if you speak Spanish, you know that the equivalent of that is basically pulling someone's hair, the equivalent of that. And so that's what I put in. And what I got out is to pull someone's hair. That doesn't translate. It's really to pull someone's leg, to trick somebody, not literally to pull someone's hair. So there's lots and lots of room for errors here. So it's got to be used with caution. However, what's really special about Google Translate is that it's getting better and better and better and better and better because their translations come increasingly all the time from documents that were translated by humans. So it's not A computer isn't going to understand syntax. They're not necessarily going to understand the order in which a certain language uses a certain word, right? Or they're not necessarily going to understand context, like that example of May. I wanted to know May the month, but I got out May as in may I. Okay? We're smarter than computers. However, one of the things that's fantastic, if you go into it knowing that it's getting better and better, and that it's often right and it's getting better, and that you can completely personalize your experience, is that you can make a phrase book with Google Translate. So let's go back to the example that we talked about in Italian with the day. So I put in Monday, and if you recall, I got Monday with a capital, but that's not correct. So what I did is I actually suggested an edit, and I got another choice. That came down as another choice, this with the lowercase level. So then I hit the star, and what that does is that adds it to a phrase book. So what I did is I actually made a little phrase book of words, basically the days and the months. So what I was able to do is click the star. After I click the star in the target language, let's actually go back. I click the star in the target language box, the translation box, and then next to where it says turn off instant translation, that star with the circle around it, after I finished all my translations, I hit that. I ended up with this. Just open this up. I then clicked that little icon underneath the search bar. Right? It looks like a little table there. And this is where it brought me, to import document. Now you're going to want to be signed into your Google account when you do this, because what it'll do is it's going to import that phrase book, that personalized phrase book that you made, into Google Sheets. I think that's really cool. Anything you'd want to learn, you can make your own little phrase book. However, I don't need what's in column A or in column B. I understand that one column is English, and I understand that the other column is Italian. So I just deleted them, and this is what I ended up with. Now, what you can actually do with these is fantastic. If you are dealing with Roman script, you can download these as either, tab-separated values, I would say. You can download these sheets as tab-separated values or as comma-separated values. Character languages are a little bit different. And you can import them into programs like Quizlet or Study Blue, where you can make your own study tools. You can make your own Anki cards with tab-separated values. Or you could just have your own phrase book. The completely personalized language learning experience.